Update on Tyreek Hill's injury. The Dolphins wide receiver is hospitalized after suffering a horrific leg injury. Editor's note: due to the graphic nature of the injury, we will not share video here. Tyreek Hill, a wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, suffered a horrific-looking leg injury during the second half of his team's Week 4 game against the New York Jets. The injury happened after Tua Tagovailoa completed a 10-yard pass to the veteran receiver, and Hill was tackled by a Jets defender while going out of bounds, twisting his leg. The ESPN broadcast briefly showed Hill lying on the ground, and it looked as though his knee was facing the wrong way. Medical personnel from the Jets and Dolphins promptly attended to Hill. Before placing Hill's leg in a stabilizer, the medical staff took off Hill's cleat and the tape around his ankle, according to ESPN sideline reporter Katie George. In addition, Hill's mother visited the field to comfort her son, giving him a kiss on the forehead, as George puts it. After that, Hill was removed from the field and placed on a cart. As he walked off the field, he was observed grinning. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport and ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Dolphins are concerned that Hill may have dislocated his knee during the Jets game. According to NFL Network reporter Cameron Wolfe, if an MRI reveals a dislocated knee, Hill's injury would keep him out of action for the rest of the 2025 season. Shortly after Hill exited the game, the Dolphins declared that he would not be able to play the rest of the game due to a knee injury. Hill was being sent to a nearby hospital for imaging, examination, and observation. According to Miami, in the ESPN broadcast, Hill was seen being wheeled out of the stadium. A medical staff member was holding up his foot as a large brace was placed on his left leg. The moment Tyreek Hill went down, the stadium fell into a silence that spoke louder than any cheer could have. The Miami Dolphins' explosive wide receiver, one of the league's most dynamic talents, had just suffered a gruesome leg injury that immediately shifted the tone of the game, the mood of the fan base, and potentially the trajectory of the entire season. Even in a sport defined by violence and unpredictability, there are injuries that feel different, injuries that seem to pause time, that remind everyone watching, from fans in upper deck to executives in luxury boxes to players kneeling on the turf, just how fragile greatness can be. Hill's injury, as reported by multiple outlets, is feared to be a dislocated knee. And though medical imaging will provide clarity, the early concern is severe enough to cast doubt on his availability for the remainder of the 2025 campaign. What makes this moment resonate so deeply is not only what Hill represents to the Dolphins, but also what he represents to football as a whole. Speed incarnate, a human highlight reel, and the centerpiece of one of the league's most exciting offenses. To see him immobilized on the turf, his leg twisted unnaturally, was to confront the brutal reality that even the brightest stars can be dimmed in an instant. The play itself, a simple 10-yard completion from Tua Tagovailoa, will fade into background of game film, remembered less for its tactical significance than for the nightmare that followed. As Hill was tackled along the sideline by a Jets defender, his leg appeared to buckle at an awkward angle. ESPN's broadcast team chose not to linger on the replay, and with good reason. The visual was unsettling, Hill's knee seemingly misaligned in a way that immediately suggested something was seriously wrong. Sideline reporter Katie George described how medical staff rushed to Hill, carefully removing his cleat and ankle tape before applying a stabilizer. In an unusual and deeply human moment, Hill's mother came onto the field to comfort him, giving him a kiss on the forehead. That gesture, caught on camera, reminded everyone watching that beyond the statistics, the contracts, and the fantasy football rosters, Tyreek Hill is also a son, a family man, someone whose pain ripples far beyond the Dolphins' depth chart. When he was eventually carted off, wearing a brace and still flashing a smile to the crowd, the image carried a bittersweet weight. Defiance in the face of adversity, but also the recognition of a long and uncertain road ahead. The immediate fear, reported by NFL Network's Ian Rappaport and echoed by ESPN's Adam Schefter, is that he'll suffer a dislocated knee. That diagnosis, if confirmed by MRI, could spell the end of his 2025 season. A dislocated knee is no minor injury. It is among the most severe outcomes in football, involving not only bones but also the potential tearing of ligaments, damage to blood vessels, and a long recovery process that often requires surgery and extensive rehabilitation. Cameron Wolfe of NFL Network noted that such an injury would almost certainly sideline Hill for the year, and the Dolphins' cautious statement that he would not return the game only reinforced the gravity of the situation. In moments like these, the conversation quickly moves from X's and O's to MRIs and surgical options, from highlight reels to medical charts. The uncertainty becomes a storyline of its own. How quickly will results come back? What do the specialists say? What kind of recovery timeline might exist? And, unspoken but present in every fan's mind, will Tyreek Hill ever look the same again? The implications for Hill's career are profound. At 31 years old, he has built a reputation as perhaps the fastest player in the NFL, a receiver who can change the geometry of the field simply by lining up wide. Defenses bend toward him. Safeties shade aside, and entire schemes are designed to contain his speed. Hill's explosiveness is not just an asset. It is his defining trait, and that is why a knee injury of this magnitude is especially concerning. For a power back or a possession receiver, there are ways to adapt, to reinvent one's game around strength or route precision. But Hill's identity is tied to acceleration, to sudden bursts, to the kind of cutting ability that places extraordinary demands on the knee joint. A dislocation, even if successfully repaired, raises questions about whether he can return to that same level. Medical science has advanced, and we have seen players come back from devastating injuries. Adrian Peterson famously returned from an ACL tear to rush for over 2,000 yards. Yet there are also sobering examples. Robert Griffin III never regained his rookie explosiveness after knee injury, and Marcus Lattimore's college injury derailed what could have been a stellar NFL career. For Hill, the spectrum of possible outcomes is wide, and the uncertainty is perhaps the hardest part for him, his family, his team, and his fans to endure. For the Dolphins, the timing could not be worse. Miami entered the 2025 season with aspirations of not just making the playoffs, but contending for the AFC title. Their offense, orchestrated by Mike McDaniel and powered by the chemistry between Tagovailoa and Hill, had been among the most dangerous in the league. Hill's presence on the field created mismatches that elevated teammates like Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, and even the tight ends and role players who benefited from the defensive attention he commanded. Without him, the offense loses not only its top weapon, but also its identity. Tagovailoa, often criticized for his reliance on Hill's ability to turn short passes into long gains, will now be asked to shoulder more of the burden, to find new rhythm with Waddle and the rest of the receiving core. Opponents, no longer fearing Hill's game-breaking speed, will be freer to stack the box or disguise coverages in ways that had previously been too risky. The ripple effect could reshape not only Miami's offensive scheme, but also their place in the AFC East, where the Jets, Bills, and Patriots will smell opportunity in the void left by Hill's absence. The human side of the story should not be overlooked. Injuries of this magnitude often trigger an outpouring of emotion from fans and peers alike. Social media flooded with prayers and well wishes for Hill, while analysts debated what this meant for the Dolphins' playoff hopes. Yet amid the speculation and the statistics, the image of Hill's mother leaning down to comfort her son lingered. It was a rare intrusion of intimacy into a professional setting, a reminder that even the most elite athletes remain tethered to their families in moments of vulnerability. For Hill, that kiss on the forehead may have been worth more than any stat line or highlight, an affirmation of love at a moment when the uncertainty of the future loomed largest. Fans often see players as superheroes, as invincible figures on screens and in stadiums, but an injury like this strips away the armor, revealing the shared human experience of pain, fear, and the need for support. Historically, the NFL has seen its share of catastrophic injuries to stars, and each one becomes a reference point in conversations like this. Alex Smith's leg injury in 2018, which nearly cost him not only his career but also his life, serves as a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in the sport. Teddy Bridgewater's non-contact knee injury in 2016 derailed his trajectory as a franchise quarterback. More recently, players like Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham Jr. have fought their way back from major ligament tears, with varying degrees of success. The narrative arc of injury and recovery is as much a part of the NFL story as touchdowns and championships. Some players emerge stronger, their resilience adding to their legacy. Others fade, their careers shortened, their potential forever unrealized. Where Hill will fall on the spectrum remains to be seen, but the comparison to these past cases underscores the precariousness of athletic stardom. The business side of the NFL is not immune to the ripple effects either. Tyreek Hill is not just a player. He is a brand, a face of the Dolphins, a name that sells jerseys, fills fantasy lineups, and draws primetime viewers. His absence alters the marketing appeal of Miami games, potentially shifts television ratings, and even influences gambling lines and fantasy football dynamics. The NFL, a league that thrives on star power, must grapple with the sudden loss of one of its brightest. For the Dolphins, the impact is even more direct. Ticket sales, merchandise, and overall fan engagement could dip without Hill's presence, especially if the team struggles to maintain momentum. Yet beyond dollars and ratings, there is also the narrative void. Hill's plays were not just statistical contributions. They were moments of spectacle, viral highlights that captured the imagination of casual fans. Losing that diminishes the entertainment product. A reminder that the league's appeal is as fragile as the bodies of the men who play the game. And yet, amid all the gloom, there is another side to the story: resilience. Football, more than perhaps any other sport, is defined by comebacks, by the ability to rise after being knocked down, both literally and figuratively. Tyreek Hill's career has already been marked by moments of reinvention and determination, and this injury, while devastating, does not necessarily mark the end. Advances in medical treatment, rehabilitation, and sports science have extended careers that would once have been cut short. Hill's work ethic, competitive fire, and support system will all play crucial roles in what happens next. The road will be long, filled with surgeries, therapy sessions, and painful setbacks. But if anyone can channel the determination required to return, it is an athlete of Hill's caliber. His smile as he was carted off the field may have been fleeting, but it was also telling, a signal that even in the face of adversity, he refuses to be defined by despair. Ultimately, the conclusion to this chapter of Hill's story is still unwritten. The MRI results will provide clarity. The rehab process will shape the timeline, and the Dolphins season will unfold with or without their star. But in a broader sense, the injury serves as a sobering reminder of the fragility of athletic greatness. Every Sunday, fans tune in to watch extraordinary feats of speed, strength, and skill, often forgetting that these athletes are operating on the edge of human capacity, one awkward twist or violent tackle away from catastrophe. Tyreek Hill's injury forces us to confront that reality, to appreciate the brilliance we witness when players like him take the field, and to acknowledge the risks they assume in pursuit of glory. It is a reminder to cherish the moments, because they are fleeting, and to honor the humanity of the players, because beneath the helmets and highlight reels, they are vulnerable too. For the Dolphins, the path forward will be defined by adaptation, by finding new ways to win, without their most dangerous weapon. For Hill, the journey ahead will be one of recovery, resilience, and perhaps reinvention. For the NFL and its fans, the lesson is timeless. Greatness is fragile. The line between triumph and tragedy is thin. And the stories we tell about this game are as much about perseverance in the face of loss as they are about victories on a scoreboard. Tyreek Hill's injury may have ended his season, but it has also begun a new narrative, one of uncertainty, hope, and a relentless pursuit of return. And in that pursuit, even amid the pain, lies the essence of why we watch, why we care, and why football endures as both a game and a reflection of life itself.